All right, y'all, so we back with the follow-up video. In the last video, we talked about how that $30,000, losing that $30,000, sent me in a downhill spiral mentally, emotionally, and ultimately led me to a place that I had never been in physically, and I just hated it. And in this video, we're gonna basically talk about how we came out of that and just a couple of things that I did to come out of that depression. And hopefully this helps somebody, because I know, especially as a man, I know women go through, their own things as well, but as a man, we're put here to provide, to protect, and to provide security to our family, you know what I mean? And so when those things are kind of shaking, it can send you in a dark place. And so hopefully this video or encourage you right now to kind of come up out of that funk. If you are going through that type of experience, if you have been through that type of experience, I would love to hear your story below in the comments. But for the sake of time, y'all, and for the sake of these mosquitoes, I'm gonna get straight into the video. All right, so if you're not familiar with what led me here, you can go back and watch the previous video, and I talk about what I did in the financial markets and the rise and the fall of my trading. And so in this video, I'm gonna just talk about a couple of things that helped me out, like I said in the intro. And I'll just start it with this right here. So I'm gonna take y'all back to April of 2022, where my wife, my lovely wife, she booked us a trip to Dallas to go watch the Lakers play. Now, even though the Lakers lost that game, that didn't make me more depressed. I just had to throw that out there. But, it's my favorite team. I've always been a Kobe Bryant fan. I always wanted to see the Lakers play in person. Never got a chance to do that. That was a little therapeutic for me. Getting outside of the house. I hadn't got outside the house and did anything for a little while. So going to the Lakers game, that was all cool. It was fun. It was a chance to spend some time with my wife. But what really changed the game and what really put me on the journey of starting that healing process was my wife booked this Airbnb. And we rarely stay at Airbnbs. We usually stay at Hilton hotels. We've been Hilton Honors members for forever, and so that's what we usually do. And this particular time, she decided to book an Airbnb, and it was a little bit outside of what we normally do. And I'm glad that she actually made that decision, because inside of that Airbnb, man, the vibes were so amazing. I kind of show you guys a little layout of what it looked like, and they had all these candles and all these different artifacts and all this different stuff that you could tell that they probably went and thrift and bought all this stuff, but the way they put the room together was so amazing. And they also had these books on the bookshelf, and so I gravitated towards that bookshelf because I'm a reader or whatever. And so I gravitated towards this book called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. That book completely, that book shook my world. And I knew it was meant to be for me to be in that Airbnb, because I remember back in 2015, we were at church, and my pastor, on the, what do you call it, on the big monitor, on the big screen or whatever, where they put the scriptures and stuff like that as they're going through their message, he had that book on the monitor. And I remember taking a picture of it back in 2015, 2016, I can't remember what year it was. And I was like, okay, the pastor recommending a book, I'm gonna eventually read this book. And eventually never happened. I never got around to reading that book. And so I opened up the book, I read a couple of pages. It was probably 70, 80 pages, no more than 90 pages. And I said, you know what? We're here for about 5 days. I'm gonna read this book while I'm here. Mercedes was in the bathroom getting ready to go get food or whatever. Here I am diving inside of this book. And as I'm diving in this book, I started reading different things, these simple principles that started to click for me and just started to give me a boost of energy. And immediately I closed the book for a second. I was like, man, you mean to tell me I waited 6, 7, 8 years to finally read this book, and I had to be in this particular place in my life for me to pick up this book? And man, I swear everything happens for a reason. And so, I closed the book after reading about 12, 15 pages, something like that. We went out to dinner or whatever, and I started to share with Mercedes some of the things that book talked about. It talked about the power of sitting in silence, it talked about the power of meditation, the power of just putting your device down for an hour, putting your phone and your devices down for a day and sometimes a week. And how some people can't do that. Some people go crazy when they sit in silence, because when you sit in silence, it's nobody but you and you, and your thoughts tend to go crazy. And for me, that's what happened, honestly. When I decided to start meditating, I could never really focus. I had tried meditating before, but I could never really focus because my mind would just wander and start thinking about all the type of stupid stuff, crazy stuff, things that I had to do. I was thinking about my to-do list, thinking about my kids, thinking about my wife, thinking about my future, just thinking about all types of stuff. And I could never just put my mind at ease and just settle down. And so I decided, hey, on this trip, I know the kids are taken care of. I know my wife is with me. She's good. And, I'm gonna take this time to kind of settle down, and I'm gonna try this meditating thing again. And so every day while we were there, I started to continue to work out consistently. When I started going through that depression, I stopped going to the gym. I felt myself starting to pick up some weight, and I had really no energy. I just wanted to lay around all the time, watch shows, eat snacks. And so what I realized was I wasn't doing anything but making matters worse for myself by not trying to start that process of healing sooner. And so once I got to that Airbnb, man, I took me a bubble bath every day. Like I said, I worked out every day. And I kind of just create like a little side note right here. As a man, I feel like if you want to immediately start getting yourself together and feeling more confident and coming out of any depression that you're in, man, you go to the gym, you start hitting those weights, so you start running, and you figure out a way to get your finances right, and you start meditate, man, that can immediately start changing the dynamics around you instantly. And so for me, going on that trip, man, and I literally took, man, it's Mercedes to tell you, I took a bubble bath every single day. I took a bubble bath every day. And I rarely ever took baths at home, like I used to take like a shower. And I only took baths if I had like a long day or like a leg day or something that kicked my ass, I take a bubble bath. But when I tell you I took a bubble bath for 5 days straight, with some meditation music, with a nice candle lit, and just, I just had the vibe around me, like a mellow vibe around me, where I could, just let my thoughts kind of settle down and create this stillness. That's where the process started. And so, like I told you guys, that first day, it was still kind of like I was thinking about all this crazy stuff. But as I continued to do it, the longer I could sit. So I initially started doing 5 minutes of trying to just get my mind to just calm down. Then I moved to 10 minutes, 15. And next thing you know, Mercedes will tell you, on that last day that we were there, I was probably in that bathroom maybe 30 minutes, just sitting, just letting them chakras just shock. I don't even know if that's the right, terminology or whatever. But, I just immediately just started to feel good. I immediately started to feel confident. And so one of the things in that book, it talked about meditating and what that can do for you mentally, what it can do for your energy. And it talked about the power of just getting in nature and how we connect with nature. And if you look at the diagram, man, it's something so cool. I looked at the diagram of the lungs. If you look at the diagram of the lungs and you look at the diagram of a tree and how it's made, we are made from nature. And so I ain't trying to get too deep or anything like that on y'all. I'm not a guru when it comes to this stuff. I'm just giving y'all my story. If y'all try this, hopefully, it can help you as well. Like I told y'all, we ended up going to the Lakers game. They lost to the Mavs. Luka went crazy. And I find it, I can never understand, if you into sports, I can never understand, how does Luka do this slow ass step back? And it just seemed like none of these elite defenders can stop him. I'm just man, if I get out there, I can stop Luka. Like, there's no way Luka getting buckets on me with that slow ass step back. But nah, man, like once you see him, you know, out there against elite defenders doing it like for yourself in person, you like, well, yeah, I probably couldn't guard Luka. But anyway, y'all, I had such a good time watching Luka cook that, you know, I really don't even care that we lost for real, you know. And once we got back home, I pretty much carried that same energy and that same momentum for the trip when we got back home. And so I continued to do the meditating, continue to focus on that quiet time. Typically, my kids get up around 6:30ish, between 6:30 to 7, and it was still the school year. And so they typically get up that time and start eating, getting breakfast and getting ready for school and all that stuff. So I knew that if I wanted to have some time for myself, I couldn't get up when the kids got up. If you're a parent, like, you know how it is. Like, if the kids come wake you up abruptly, it's kind of like your whole day is already kind of dictated, or your morning is kind of dictated by how the kid woke up. You know, whether they're hollering, screaming, and crying, all the crazy stuff. But I don't know if y'all kids like my kids. My kids are from a whole nother dimension. I would start getting up around 5 o'clock. You know, I would go brush my teeth or have me a glass of water with some lemon, read my devotional, and I'll just start me a meditation. I downloaded I think the app is called Insight. I posted right here. And I went through some of the guided meditations. Sometimes I go through some of the guided meditations within the app. Sometimes I just sit there in silence. Downstairs, had me a nice little pillow. I would go downstairs, so if I do play some of the guided stuff out loud or through my headphones, I'm not disturbing anybody. I would do that around 5:30ish, and I just get my day started by just creating some calmness, like, within myself, and understanding that I can manifest the type of day that I desire to have. None of these outside forces. I'm a ball of energy, and I can affect how the things around me play out. And before, I would kind of react to things, but I switched from reacting to things to starting to attract different things to me, and understanding that everything is as it should be, and where I am now in the present moment is a result of the things that I did in the past. And also understanding that I can't do anything about the past. I can't really do anything about the future, so there's no point in even stressing myself and worried about that. The only thing I can control is my current state in the moment, right now, being present. And if I focus on the right now, if I'm putting good things in, if I'm attracting the right things, then the future will take care of itself. That karma is gonna happen either way, whether good or bad. So good in, good out, bad in, bad out. If I'm creating a high vibrational lifestyle for myself in this current state, then in the future, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna continue to have high vibrational things come to pass in my life because of what I'm doing today. And so that's one of the things that meditating helped me to understand. And so once I started that momentum in Dallas, I continued that at home. Another thing that I did was, once I finished meditating, I started writing down a couple of things, maybe like 3 things a day that I was grateful for. And it would be simple stuff like, I'm grateful for the sense of touch. I'm grateful for the sense of taste. I'm grateful for the sense of smell. I'm grateful to be able to walk. I'm grateful to be able to talk. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful that now I'm in a healthy space. I'm in a peaceful space. I'm in a joyful space. I'm mentally alert and aware. I attract only good things into my life. You know, I would just put down different meditations, put down different things that I'm grateful for. Anything that was kind of going on in my mind, I would write that down. And I would usually try to keep that there, about 3 things, so that I can remember what I wrote throughout the day, and I can kind of ponder on those things if, you know, maybe things started to drift, or, you know, if you get a fender bender or something like that, and or somebody does something to you at your job that kind of rubs you the wrong way to keep you from going or doing something that you know isn't probably a good thing, you could kind of reflect back on those things that you're grateful for and bring yourself back to here and not come out of character. You can also, speaking of listing 3 things, you can also start to do that when it comes to creating different to-do lists for yourself, so you're not feeling overwhelmed in your life. And I like to keep things typically to 2 to 3 things, because when you think about when I had done to-do lists in the past, I would create this list where it's like 5 different things on my to-do list, 10 different things on my to-do list, and really only 2, 3, or 4 things actually get done. And so I'm like, why not just put 3 things on my to-do list that I know I have to do, and then once those things are done, I just go on about my day doing whatever it is that I want to do, create more time for myself. And speaking of creating time for yourself, I told my wife this, man, you know, and it's one thing that this journey has taught me. There's 3 different relationships. If you have a wife or if you have a husband and you have kids, in that household, you got 3 relationships. You have 3 relationships. You had a relationship with your spouse, you had a relationship with your child, and you had a relationship with yourself. Now, I said a relationship with yourself last, but the truth is you should probably put that first. Because what I've realized is, if you're not putting yourself first, if you're not putting your mental health first, if you're not putting your physical health first, if you're not putting your financial health first and making sure you're in a good position, then how can you have anything to give your family? How can you have anything to give your kids or your spouse? It's almost impossible. Or you'll be trying to have them come drink from an empty well. And I've come to realize that having that relationship with yourself is just as important or having that relationship with myself is just as important as having that relationship, having the relationship or the marriage with Mercedes, and having that relationship and bond with our boys. Because, hey, if daddy in a good mood, if daddy got things cranking, if daddy feeling strong, you know, if daddy finance is right and we cooking, you know what I mean, then everybody gonna be good. So it's critical, especially for my men out here, that you put you first. And that may rub some of y'all wrong. Some of y'all may have different feelings about that. Hey, I'm not here to debate with you. I'm just only telling you what has worked in my household. So it's just leading, man. It's just leading. It's all about just leading. And what I've noticed is my kids gonna do what I do. My wife, she's gonna do what I do. My wife, she has started the process of her healing journey and trying to meditate and hear from the different things that she went through in her past. My kids now, they've came in the room and saw me meditating, and so now my 3-year-old is about to be 4. My 3-year-old, it's so funny, he'll sit Indian style on the floor and, you know, he'll just start meditating. My 8-year-old, you know, he's starting to meditate and stuff like that. So we're introducing that to the kids now as we're continuing to learn. And so that's what being a leader is about. That's what parenting is about. You're a leader by default, because those kiddos, they're gonna do what you do. And I'm a firm believer in, it's better to raise these kids the right way than to have to repair adults later on in life. So yeah, y'all, just lead. Kids gonna do what you do. That pretty much wraps up this video, y'all. I enjoyed spending this time out here with y'all. The video kind of went longer than what I wanted to go, but I really enjoyed being out here in nature, hearing the birds chirp, hearing the wind hit the trees, and just seeing the sunlight just beaming down through the trees and stuff like that. It just really put me in a good space, and I probably talked y'all ear out. But hey, hopefully you learned some. Hopefully you had a good time on this video. It's Deuce the Dope Dad. I'll see y'all on the next one.